going to talk about Final Destination.
We're talking about Final Destination.
That's what I said. We're talking about
I'm reiterating. We're gonna talk about Final Destination. Okay, yeah. Final Destination. The Final Destinations. I think in the same way that Paranormal Activity hit you at a time that was just right, was formative for you, I think Final Destination was, looking back, I don't think I realized it at the time, but I think looking back, Final Destination 1 and 2 are huge reasons why I'm into horror now. I would have been in middle school when these came out. I don't know if that's when I watched them. It was one of those things where, you know, my friend has it at his house, and I'm probably not supposed to be watching it. You know, I wouldn't tell my parents that I'd watched something like that at that age. But we watched and rewatched 1 and 2, Final Destination 1 and 2, so many times. And, you know, I think they're pretty much made for that kind of, they're made for that age. They're not made for kids. You shouldn't let a kid see this. But I think teenagers particularly
like at
attach
sleepovers,
themselves to things like this. Yeah, it's
late
like
night birthday party.
Yeah, it
watching.
feels like you're not supposed to be watching it.
Because in the end, no one can escape death. And today may be your day to die.
All of these movies have such a similar formula and premise, and they all unfold in the exact same way. So I think we can sort of talk about all 5 of them simultaneously.
Yeah.
There's not really any reason to separate them the way we did the Paranormal Activities.
Yeah.
So just getting into it, let's start with the premise. The premise of these movies is that there is some disaster that's going to occur, and one of our characters has a premonition about said disaster and removes themselves from the situation, saving themselves and a group of other survivors from what would be their death. And then the rest of the film is all of these survivors getting their eventual comeuppance, because death has a design. And they skipped their rightful death, so now death has to make up for it.
Yeah, in the order that they would have died in the disaster, generally.
Sometimes, yes.
Mostly.
Yeah, most of them do it in the order they would have died. Yes, there's a particular, they call it a design.
Yeah.
Death's design. And so in the first one, it is a plane crash. The second one is a highway pileup. The third one, a roller coaster disaster. The fourth one, a NASCAR crash. And the fifth one, a bridge collapse. These are unique movies for a lot of reasons. They're effectively slashers. They have the same structure as a slasher. Yeah. The same rhythm as a slasher, but we don't have a slasher. We don't have a presence. Very smartly, I will add. Very good of them to never add a visual element to death. There's a little bit of darkness here and there. You see the effects of death's design.
It's always water. It's always something dripping and like...
Yeah, you see valves turning. You see things moving. You know, wind. Wind is a usual a signifier of death's presence. I was thinking a lot about what these remind me of. Even though I can't think of any horror movies that operate that way, I absolutely can think of a universe that operates that way. A universe full of ironic violence. Cosmic failures are the guaranteed, obvious, natural outcome. The mind of Chuck Jones. That's what the Final Destination movies remind me of.
I can see that.
He has, and I want to say, I suspect all of the original Warner Brothers animators have had their influence on horror. I would not be surprised to hear other horror directors say that they were influenced by Looney Tunes. There's plenty of movies that I can think of the little hints, but nothing as much as Final Destination. These movies operate with just razor sharp comedic timing, and they are held together by it. The comedic timing of Final Destination is the movie. And the result is this extremely macabre, miserable, paranoid, neurotic montage of people's worst fears being realized over and over and over. So it's worth noting that the original script was thought up and originally penned with the intention of being an X-Files spec script. Jeffrey Reddick wrote this story.
What?
Yep. Jeffrey Reddick wrote this story after reading an article about a woman who got off the plane after her mom had a bad feeling, and that plane ended up crashing. He read that and thought that's a great idea.
That's a good, for the X-Files.
And
I can see it.
Yes, once you imagine this as an X-Files
I'm
episode,
I'm imagining it as an episode, and I'm like, okay.
So it would have centered around Scully's brother getting off the plane, and it would have been an entirely different framework. We see the FBI agents, they're there still, but it would have followed them instead of the survivors.
Yeah.
It never ended up going to the X-Files people. He decided it had the potential for a feature-length film, so he rewrote it and ended up selling it to New Line. He actually worked at New Line at the time, but he got it sold. And it is really such a good idea.
It is a good idea.
And I love that it's such a good idea and such a strong premise that the sequels don't touch it. So few horror sequels do that. We're just going to tell the same story again because it's that damn good. Now, obviously, the end result is not always as good. The first one is, in this case, I would say the strongest of the series overall, with the second one being a very close second for me. But the formula still works. We still want to see this happen. And the sixth one, Final Destination Bloodlines, is not out yet, but it's about to come out, and we plan on seeing it. And I find myself just as excited to see the same story unfold. My apprehension about it is I hope they don't change the formula.
Yeah, I think the strength of Final Destination is that it touches on a lot of human fears, and human feeling. Like, we've all had that feeling of impending doom when getting on an airplane or getting on a highway or attending a semi-dangerous event or anything like that. You're always like a little bit convinced you're gonna die.
I agree with you, and I do feel that. I'm not sure that that's everyone.
Okay.
But I wouldn't know. I don't know.
Good for you.
But you're absolutely right.
It's a normal human anxiety thing, anything like that. So and then even all the deaths, well, not all the deaths, but many of the deaths are specifically in situations that humans generally find a little anxiety producing.
Yes.
Things like dentist, LASIK surgery.
Sure.
A lot of different scenarios where you would think, I could die here.
Yeah.
Like when you're at Home Depot and there's wood, and you're like, well, that could kill me. That might just be me, but
no, that's the genius here, is that the violence and the mayhem comes from everywhere all at once. It is omnipresent. The feeling of insecurity never leaves you.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
And then you have Tony Todd, who is like death's emissary, kind of.
Yes, these films feature, almost all of them feature Tony Todd. He's not in the fourth one. Yes, William Bloodworth, the mortician.
That name is a little on the nose.
Sure, yeah.
Rightfully so.
Look.
I mean, appropriately so.
Please. You'll wake the dead.
Yes, some people speculate that he is meant to represent death, or he like works for death or something like that. I think he's just in tune with it. Some people speculate that he himself is a former survivor / someone who has bested death, like the main characters of these films. There's not really any reason to think that, as far as I can tell. He has extremely minimal roles in these movies.
Well, he's a mortician.
Yes.
So it's like he's around it so much.
It's his job.
It's like he just knows his business.
Yeah, yes.
And death is his business.
Yes. And Tony Todd is such a great presence.
Yeah.
He really steals a scene. He knows how to... He's just got this commanding aura about him.
Yeah.
And in the third one, he does not play the mortician, but he plays the voice of the roller coaster, the demon that, that ushers them onto the roller coaster. That's his voice.
You may never return from Devil's Flight.
I think the most effective, I don't know what to call it, mundane object turned deadly weapon is the log truck. I think
definitely the most
that
iconic.
Well, that hit such a perfect.
Yeah, everyone has thought about that.
Well, so it's just common enough to be innocuous. You normally wouldn't notice that kind of thing. You see it often enough to where it doesn't seem weird that it's on the road. It's not an abnormal thing to see. But Final Destination 2 ruined, and I mean, every single person our age either moves out from behind those trucks as fast as they can, or at least thinks about it. Everyone. People I know who are not horror movie fans, people I know who haven't seen Final Destination 2 are affected by this movie. This is our, Jaws had an entire generation scared of the water. And this is our Jaws. My therapist calls it vicarious trauma. The strength of the first two movies is their commitment to practical effects. They have CG in them. 2 especially has a ton of wonderfully worked in CG work. For example, all of the logs are CG.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't know it. It looks great. It looks fantastic for its time. And you know how that thing that happens where you watch an old movie now and now we're watching it on better screens and you're like noticing stuff that you wouldn't have noticed. Like I watched the first 2 movies on a screen like this probably on VHS. But it still looks good. They really went the extra mile to make that look perfect. And there's plenty of other effects in there that I want to talk about, but the logs specifically, they say in the behind the scenes that they tried to do it practical. They tried to have the logs fall off the truck and bounce the way they needed it to go through Officer Burke's head. But they wouldn't do it. Every test, over and over and over, the logs just rolled off the highway relatively safely. That should make me feel better about driving behind a log truck, but I'll tell you what, it doesn't make me feel better, and it's not going to make you feel better either after learning that. It doesn't matter. Those things are scary. it's nuts how effective that scare is. It really is, in my opinion, the stroke of genius from the whole franchise. I mean, it's the best decision they made in all the sequels, is that damn log truck. It's awesome. It's an awesome sequence. Also noteworthy, the highway pileup lasts, if I timed it from basically I timed it from the moment they snap back to once they realize they've had a premonition. So for Alex, it's he falls asleep in his seat and he's jolted upright when the girls are asking him to switch seats. And for Kimberly, it's the moment the homeless woman bangs on her window. Mm-hmm. The Highway 23 pileup is almost twice as long as the Flight 180 crash. It is so much more elaborate. It is so much more detailed. You see every single person die in a very specific way. And the lead up with the ironic foreshadowing elements, like the kid banging the truck together, the two trucks together, or the guy drinking and driving, all these ominous portents. It takes way longer for the buildup, and it hits so much harder because of it.
It does. I'd seen Final Destination were always cable TV movies for me. I don't think I saw a single one like from a rented movie or in the movie theater. It was all just I caught them on cable, maybe in bits and pieces.
Sure.
And so I knew for sure I'd seen the first 3.
Yeah.
And then I remembered a death from the 5th one, so I've seen that one. I might have seen them all. I don't know. But I was surprised when I rewatching the first one how quickly like the disaster happens.
Yeah.
Like it just I just thought it would be more drawn out than that. Yeah. So it needed it. I feel like it needed it in the second one. It needed a longer build up and a longer carnage. And I think
they deliver. I think that in general, what Final Destination 2 does is what all horror sequels should aspire to. They truly do take the original and without harming it, take it to the next level. Mm-hmm. It really steps it up in a fun way. And one of the ways they do this, Final Destination 1 spends a surprising amount of time in the tragedy, the aftermath of Flight 180.
They do, yeah. Yes. There's a lot of tears and tributes and
you see the memorial, you see these characters grieving their friends and their teachers. It's a tragedy that affects every character specifically and closely. You know, these people, like Todd's brother dies, you know. And in the later movies, I think that the disasters are further and further depersonalized from the main characters. And I think I think two things. One, it hurts our appreciation of the characters, but in true horror movie fashion, by the time we're at the 4th and 5th one, do we really care about the characters? Maybe not. Probably not. You know, most horror movies tend to do that. We're not going to put so much energy into the characterization of these people. But the thing it allows the sequels to do is get past that tragedy very quickly and jump right back into the zaniness. Now, again, Final Destination 1 ends quite zany. There is a lot of zaniness, especially Val Lewton's death. The teacher's death is incredible. Very zany. So it's there, you know, John Denver playing every time someone's about to die and things like that. There's a goofiness to it. But 2 jumps right into that. The first death after the pileup is Evan, and it's insanity. They're right into Rube Goldberg mechanics.
Yeah.
So they've just, the tone shift is effective, I think. Like Final Destination 2 is the tempo the others should strive for. It's like, we're not going to try to tug on your heartstrings here. It's like, whatever.
I think I actually might I think you're right, but I think I might like the third one more, like the most. I think that it also has a great build up and a great, like, at the festival, like the things she's saying and stuff. And roller coaster is also another sort of common fear people have. You know, everyone's imagined themselves dying in a plane, a car, and a roller coaster. And I think Mary Elizabeth Winstead is a strong enough actress and presence to kind of make it a little more character centric successfully, because she also, I liked the interpersonal relationships there, even though that's not the focus. It's like, you know, it was her boyfriend and best friend that die on the roller coaster, and now it's her and her dead best friend's boyfriend that are trying to figure everything out. And it has the added element of the photos, which I kind of liked.
Yes, each movie slightly tweaks.
They try to differentiate themselves some way. And in the third one, it's that she took a bunch of photos for the fair, and she realizes when she looks at the photos, you can kind of see how these people were going to die. Like, there's one of my favorite deaths of the series are the tanning booth girls.
Yes. So the writer heard someone suggested the tanning bed to him as a potential scary thing, and he went and did it. Went to get a tan to see what it was like.
Yeah.
And spent, no more than 10 or 20 minutes in there and was like, yep. I can see how this is scary. I can imagine this.
Yeah, it's claustrophobic and hot, and like
that moment right there when those girls are dying, the overhead shot of the tanning beds and match cutting to their coffins.
Yeah.
I think that moment is so okay. What Final Destination 1 had to spend 30 minutes doing, the aftermath of the tragedy, we need to show how this affects the characters' lives. By 3, we have that match cut. And it's like, okay, straight comedy. Yeah. That is such a funny cut. And it's just like, yep, those two are dead now. Next.
Yeah.
We're in a Final Destination movie. Next. It's so awesome. And it's an intense sequence, It's scary.
Yeah, it's scary. And they've actually developed those girls a little bit. Like, they were the airheads. But they're kind of like trying to be sweet and trying to be helpful. So I think that the third did a little bit better job than any of the others of developing characters and relationships between them. There's even this drama between the main girl and her sister going on, and that worked for me. The kind of strain there. So I think the third one's actually my favorite. And then you had 3D.
So yes.
Yeah, the 3D element.
4 and 5. Yes. 4 and 5 have an intense 3D element to them. I think 3 might have. I think 3 came out in a time when 3D was a thing. I could be wrong about that. It certainly doesn't feel like it in the movie.
No, I don't think it, because especially early 3D had like the egregious like towards the screen things. You can't miss it.
Yeah.
And 4th is like wild.
I actually think it's good you bring that up. I think all 5 of these movies are extremely of their time.
Oh yeah.
They wear it on their sleeves. They are unashamedly from the year they're from.
Yeah, Mary Elizabeth Winstead is wearing the low-rise jeans I've ever seen. Like, I swear she had to get like a Brazilian to wear those jeans. Crazy level. Sorry. I was just like,
no, I mean, that's part of it. The fashion, everything. But the spirit of the movies. It's funny because 4 goes way too crazy with the 3D. And that was an era. There were a
Yes.
bunch of movies where they were just like 3D's everything. We got to make everything come towards the camera.
Yeah.
And 5 is from a time period where we had been like, okay, we got to dial it back. It's fun to do a couple
we'd
of
calm
these
down
shots.
with that a little bit.
But there's even that shot in 5 in the intro where they show the hole in the bridge. Like the camera's above one of the holes from construction. And it looks sort of like nothing. But you can tell that if you were in 3D that it would look really deep. Yeah. I think there's a scene in one of the Saws that does that too, where you can tell they're trying to go for one of those like, whoa, like that's too tall. But when you watch it just on a computer monitor, you're like, I think he could survive that fall. It's fine. Certainly not Saw trap worthy. Yeah, the 3D works. The 3D shots work way better in 5. 5 also has, we're sort of bouncing around, but that's fine.
It's okay.
Whatever. 5, I noticed something interesting. 5 is the first one where someone is just shot with a gun. That never happens throughout the whole franchise, and the person who is shot is not one of the survivors. It's just the cop, the detective. Very Final Destination of them to avoid using a gun for that long. Yeah. It's we can't make it that easy. It won't be that simple.
Yeah. I think the 5th one has probably the most notable zany vibe happening. Like it feels more purposefully zany, specifically. Like the characters, all the office workers, like the boss guy and that horny guy, and like they were really hamming it up.
Yeah.
Like really, really.
Well, and Nicholas, I'm not sure. Sorry. The guy who plays Sam, he's a comedic actor. He's been in 2 movies that I really like, that he's funny and Fired Up, and also Rocket Science. And the boss, David Koechner, I don't know how to pronounce his. The Office, and he's obviously a comedic actor. Yeah. Anchorman, stuff like that.
Specifically a comedian, yeah.
And that, it pays off, in my opinion. It pays off to have these people who have a sense of comedic timing cast in your movie that's all about comedic timing. I'm surprised I'm surprised it took them that long, to be honest, to start casting comedic actors.
I'm curious to see how the new movie, like, does it take it further? Because I mean, we did just see a movie that we walked out of the theater and said Looney Tunes. The monkey.
No.
Yeah.
Like that's taking like the ridiculous deaths and turning it up to 1,000 with a very purposefully zany, goofy, wild Looney Tunes like that is explicit Looney Tunes. And so I'm interested to see how they handle the 6th one, whether they leaned into that or pulled that back and leaned back into the like menacing, like dread-filled thing. Like they could go either way.
So our plan, we should say, our plan is to film this. We're filming this a week or so before Bloodlines comes out, and we're gonna watch Bloodlines, and we're gonna film us talking about Bloodlines, and that will appear at the end of, or somewhere in this video. So yeah, it'll be fun to sort of talk about our hopes for the movie before we see it. And one thing that doesn't work for me is the surprise survivor. In 3, we don't realize till the very end that her sister and her sister's friends
were actually on the roller
coaster. And in 4, we don't realize the cowboy guy also survived till the very end. The result is characters that we care even less about.
Oh yeah, suddenly becoming more prominent figures.
You're right that 3 at least establishes the sister and their relationship. The cowboy in 4 is a non-character. He's there in the intro, and suddenly we find out he survived. And it's like 3. Now, a case could be made that there are hateable characters in all of these movies. But specifically 3, 4, and 5 have some of the most horrible, hateable characters. It's surprising. 5, it's clearly intentional, at least, with that annoying twerp.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to make you want to see them die.
Yeah, and it's in 4 especially, man.
4 is egregious. So they have a character that is billed as the racist.
Yes.
So yeah, that is definitely, I think, its weakest points, is that its characters are tropes. You know, everyone uses tropes, but when you do it so intensely that they're billed as their like trope name, like,
yes.
Is it like, what is he, the cowboy? He's probably billed as cowboy,
probably,
and like yeah, or like asshole, or you know, just like,
yeah.
And getting that, I know that these movies do not have a strength of characters and character development and all that stuff, and that it's not the point.
But some of these go further than just unlikable.
Yeah, you've made an absolute caricature of a character. Like that's not even a real person.
Like the friend who dies in the pool.
Yes, that's who I was thinking of when I was like, he's probably billed as the asshole.
Yeah.
Because that's all he is.
You would expect in a movie like this that the result would be, you know, it's even more satisfying to see them die.
Yeah.
It doesn't
it dehumanizes them though.
Yeah.
It's like they're not even people.
Yeah, if I'm glad to see it happen, that takes the paranoia out of it.
Yeah.
It needs to feel like it could happen to me for me to, you know, change the way I look at an everyday household object.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's not the worst. I mean, plenty of horror movies have hateable characters. And again, I think they really do course correct quite well in 5. Having a specifically, you know, this is the guy you're supposed to hate.
Yeah.
And then his death is one of the more comedic and zany ones. It's like, okay, fine.
I don't even know that it's hateable characters. It's just characters that have been stripped down to the most bottom barrel level of trope.
Let's talk about the effects some more. Like, for example, Rory in 2, the druggy guy, the stoner guy who wants Kimberly to hide all his drug paraphernalia and porn so it won't break his mom's heart. I love that moment. It's such a, they didn't need to do it.
See, and that's like a trope character, but it's done well. Like he's just
fleshed out.
Yeah, he's just the druggie, you know. He's
comic relief. He's endearing.
Yeah,
he's
got some personality.
His death is one of my favorites. Him and I think her name is Kat, the woman who's always smoking. Those 2 deaths in that farmer's field and Final Destination 2 are 2 of my favorites. It's the barbed wire fence vivisection and the PVC pipe jaws of life kill.
Yeah.
And the way they did Rory's death is not fully CG. That's a composite green screen effect where they built an actual puppet / dummy that he's behind, and so this section of him, face and this arm or one of his arms, is really him in the shot, and the rest is basically a dummy. I gotta say, the dummies they use in this series, at least in the first 2, are just Ziploc bags full of blood. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, they do explode pretty dramatically.
Yeah.
It's like you pop a balloon.
Mm-hmm. Especially Tim, the kid, the teenager.
Oh, the glass?
Yeah. His is
literally just popped a balloon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome. But Rory's death, he's just basically behind a puppet filled with guts. And it looks fantastic for that reason. Doing those little practical touches. Yeah. It makes it, man. The highway sequence took them 11 days to film. It's awesome. It's just awesome work throughout. It's very good. The eyeball Evan's death with the fire escape ladder falling and puncturing his eye. That is a dummy's eyeball that they have comped into real Evan laying there. So you get the reaction of him. It's only there for a few frames, but it matters. It you know, if it had been a full dummy, you'd notice. And I just think it has some of the best examples of that blend of CG and practical. They're using CG to emphasize things. Mm-hmm. There's a shot of the jackknifed semi coming towards Kimberly and her friends in her premonition. Awesome sound design too. That whole opening sequence, the sound of the highway, the sound of that truck sort of scooting across, you know, because it's jackknifed, so it's like sliding. So you hear the tires like really screeching across the pavement. It's so nightmarish, but it comes through the flames. And the way they filmed that, they ended up adding fire. They filmed fire, and that's always the best way to do it. You have a practical component in your shot that you emphasize with CG, and it sells it so much better.
Your lizard brain kind of says, oh my God, there's one real thing, and it infuses the rest of the thing with that reality. And it's one of the things that I've learned along the way, that you marry visual effects with practical. The practical will always win out because your brain is wanting to feel the truth of it and not feel the artifice.
But I think they just really nail it with Final Destination 2. All those effects are so good. And some of them are super simple. You know, when Kat dies from the airbag pushing her head onto that PVC pipe, that's a just classic, and we'll show it here. Before we do, I want to say this is a very grotesque image, but this is a behind the scenes shot. All they have is her just, you know, against the head of the headrest of the car seat, and they just put a piece of PVC on her forehead. Classic prosthetic work. No CG necessary. You don't need to overdo these effects for them to work. You don't see her head actually go onto the PVC pipe, and it's such an effective shot. It's so good. Also, the irony of it being the jaws of life, it rules. The punchlines in these movies are...
That's probably the best part to me.
Yeah.
I'm not as generally enthusiastic about these movies as you are, but I like... The punchlines make me laugh. I like the red herrings, you know, like I like the kid that's at the dentist, and it's like there's so many precarious things happening at the dentist, and then it's not until he walks outside that like that Looney Tunes something falls on him. Same thing happens with the woman getting her hair cut in the most dangerous looking barber shop on the planet, and then but it's not until she walks out. And I like that those like really elaborate Rube Goldberg type deaths are mixed in with a lawnmower just flicked a rock at her face and it just went through her head, like the super simple, or the girl that just steps out in front of a bus. Like because it's like you come to expect the Rube Goldberg stuff, and so those really sudden, is like that bus one is probably the most iconic one.
Oh yeah.
Because it comes out and it's not what you're expecting at all.
Meep meep. Meep meep. Meep meep.
None of the sequels rise to the level of the first one, in my opinion, in this regard, but I love the foreshadowing in the first one. Mm-hmm. Every single one of their deaths is foreshadowed very specifically. It's important because I want to talk about one of the specific foreshadowings, but I'll get there. My favorite one is Billy. Billy is looking out the window at the plane taking off, and he's bummed that he's not on the flight because he wants to be there with his friends. And the plane is flying in you see the reflection of him looking out the window, and the plane is flying exactly across his face where his head will eventually be cut in half. That one's awesome. Val Lewton's is very on the nose and funny. She's bending over her computer, and behind her, the stained glass window in her house has a dagger pointed right at her. There's a shot of I can't remember her name, Carter's girlfriend, standing near an ad with a bus on it. It's so clever, but Todd's is the important one. Todd is threatening Alex. Todd wants to sit next to, he wants both of them to sit next to these pretty girls that are in their class. And Alex is going to ruin that if he switches seats with them so they can sit together. Mm-hmm. And so Todd is threatening Alex. And the way he does it is this. He like draws his finger across his neck and then does this, like, I'm going to kill you if you switch seats with them. And obviously he dies from strangulation. But the reason I want to bring this up is I can't find a whole lot of information about this online. I read this on a Screen Rant article years ago when it was actually still on Netflix, and I double checked and it was true. I saw this with my own eyes. Now, I don't know if Final Destination 1 is showing on any streaming services right now. I don't know if I'll be able to get a clip of the edited version, but I promise this was real. The Screen Rant article suggested that Netflix had edited it. And what the edit was not removing Todd's extremely prolonged and grotesque strangulation sequence. So grotesque that you can see the blood vessels popping in his eye. I mean, it is rough.
Yeah.
And instead they edit out just the moment of him, just the 3 frames of him mock hanging himself. Now, I found another article that suggested that Netflix said that they just show whatever's sent to them, and that Warner Brothers or whoever sent them, I think it said Warner, I don't know, New Line, someone sent them a copy that was already edited, and that wasn't them. But the reason I want to talk about this is not to cast blame on Netflix or New Line or Warner Brothers or whoever. The reason I want to point this out is that this, to me, is a fantastic reason to be mindful of owning the physical media of things that you like. Streaming services can't be trusted to keep hosting the things you like. They can't even be trusted to show you the authentic versions of things you like. This is a movie that came out before streaming services were a concept. And it was edited and shown on these services edited. Is it a meaningful change to the movie? Maybe, maybe not.
I don't even know what the point of removing that would be.
My mind jumped when I read it years back. It was closer to when 13 Reasons Why came out, and they had a big controversy around that show's depiction of suicide. I've never seen that show, but to my knowledge, it is far more graphic and intense than just mock.
Yeah, it is.
Pretending to mock hang yourself. I mean, it is. So at first, my first impulse was to assume they're just overly sensitive of those types of depictions. But to later find out that they don't even claim to be the ones to have edited it, I don't know. I'm not sure what the thinking there is. Now, again, I just pointed out that all of their deaths are foreshadowed very cleverly. And so to remove one, in my opinion, does harm the movie. It's not the vision that the creators wanted, you know? And to take it out is lame. At bare minimum, lame. At worst, it's destroying art. You know what I mean? I don't want to oversell how bad this was, but the point is it could be any movie. The point is you don't know. And you can't know. And you can't be sure. And even if the movie that you love is on there right now in its perfect unedited state, perfect aspect ratio, there's a famous example of Disney Plus putting all of the Simpsons on there in the wrong aspect ratio. There's plenty of things they can mess up. And even if they haven't yet, it doesn't mean they won't. And I don't know, it's just sort of a caution. I would caution people to, if you really love something, try to find it in a good state and own it, because it's really the only guarantee that you have.
The only one I can think of is, I know Buffy the Vampire Slayer is my favorite show, and there are different opinions about different streaming services streaming different versions of Buffy.
Interesting.
I can't remember the specifics. It's been a while since I was like in the Buffy verse. But I know that some of the episodes are have been edited for length for certain services. And I know that the aspect ratio has been changed in the remaster, made it wider because, it would have been full screen.
Sure.
So they've widened the aspect ratio, and it's notable in some cases because like you can see things you're not supposed to see. Like if a character is naked, you can see their little like beige panties.
Okay.
I don't know. That's the one I can think of. So yeah, they do it all the time, more than you realize. I know that a lot of diehard Buffy fans specifically hoard the DVDs because that's like the pure original form.
Well, I mean, and possibly the most famous example is the CG effects added to Star Wars.
Yeah.
But one that comes to mind, you mentioned TV shows. I immediately thought of Always Sunny. Amazon won't host any of the episodes that feature black or brown face, which is more than one episode. And sure, that's rough.
Yeah.
It's an offensive depiction. It is a racist thing to do. But in the context of the show, the characters are sexist, racist, homophobic, misogynistic. I mean, they are terrible people. That's sort of the point. So when you have a show where every episode these characters are doing and saying the most egregious, hateful, rancid things, what is Amazon suggesting by removing only a handful of those episodes? Because on the one hand, you say, oh, well, they're saying we don't endorse depictions of blackface. Okay, good on you. Does that mean you do endorse all this other garbage that you left?
Yeah, because like the logic of that is like, okay, well then you should take down Schindler's List because they're doing Nazi salutes.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. The context should matter. I think that is a way overreach on their part, even though it's only a handful of episodes. It's like 2 or 3 episodes or something end up getting removed from the total. But again, the point is, you can't trust these companies to preserve the media that you like. It's a bummer that that's true, but it's true. And for me, it was Final Destination. For you, it's Buffy, and for other people, it might be one. You may not have found that thing yet, but when you do, it's going to hurt your feelings in such a specific way. Well, I know what we can talk about. Major spoiler warning. We're going to have a spoiler warning at the beginning of this video like we always do. Basically, all our videos are going to be almost exclusively spoilers. But I do want to give a specific spoiler warning for the end of Final Destination 5. So if you have any interest in this series and you think you might want to watch Final Destination 5, stop watching now. Okay. Final Destination 5's ending is amazing. It is such a fun...
Yelling.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Final Destination 5 is a surprise prequel.
Yeah.
On a rewatch, you will notice all the little signs.
Like, why don't they have phones yet?
There is a phone depicted, but it's very old.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very old school cell phone. The music, one of the characters pulls up, the music blaring is very year 2000. And notably, the characters do not use Google to find out about Flight 180 like they do in all the other sequels, because it hasn't happened yet. We don't know that at the time. But, I don't know. I think making it a surprise prequel and making the characters end up on the doomed Flight 180 is such a funny cosmic... Because that's the thing. The disasters following these characters are cosmic. This is a aligning of the stars that deletes every one of the survivors. Things are just right. Things play out in exactly the right order. The dominoes fall, and now that character is dead. So what better way than to have a huge cosmic loop around to make the series a cyclical one?
That's fun.
I think
I'm
it's
trying
amazing.
to think of other surprise prequels. Can you think of any others?
I can,
I know that there are.
That's such a major spoiler that I don't actually want to say which series have those. There's one very specific one that I'm thinking of, but we're going to watch it eventually, so I don't want to say. That'll just be a surprise for you. But yes, this is not the only franchise to do that.
Should we make predictions for the 6th one?
I was thinking about that. Like, what are we going to predict? So, okay, I haven't said this on the channel yet, but I do not watch trailers for any movie ever. The only time I will watch a trailer is if I've already seen the movie and someone tells me, hey, you should go watch the trailer. It was really good. It rarely is. Trailers are a blight on the world of movies.
I love
in
trailers.
My opinion. Yeah, of course.
I love them, and I think that they're an art in and of themselves. Granted, I think that they have fallen into a routine of like so many are so similar nowadays that they're overwhelmingly mostly an eye roll. Yeah. It's just the same thing where like a shotgun, like a gun cocking or something turns into the beat of the thing, or they've like turned a famous song and like made it sound moodier and like that kind of thing. But then there are some like the best trailer I have seen in years and years is out right now. The 28 Years Later trailer, the trailer number 1. I haven't seen the second. I've avoided the like trailer 2 because the first one doesn't give really any plot details. It's the most dreadful feeling trailer I've ever seen.
Awesome.
But I've seen the trailer for the next Final Destination, at least the teaser trailer, and the trailer itself was just one entire death.
Okay.
Yeah, which was interesting.
I know Fury Road, it's a big first thing they showed. I don't know if it was the first trailer or what it was, but it was just the first like 3 minutes of the movie. That sequence of him.
They do that sometimes where they just pull a sequence and that's there has been another trailer that I've avoided watching. Because I do try to avoid like, it's usually trailer number 2. Like if you look it up on YouTube, it's like the second trailer. Those are the ones that are like, let me lay out the plot from A to Z for you. Like
that's my point is nothing has ruined movies the way trailers have ruined movies for me. I mean, it is.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a minefield. It's not that they all do. It's that I know this is a me thing. You know,
you're very like, even knowing that a character dies, like, I mean, the smallest things are considered spoilers to you.
Everything can be a spoiler.
Yeah. The fact that an actor is in that movie is a spoiler to you.
The movie that made me start thinking about this was Shutter Island. And that is a movie that I would say is not spoiled by the trailer. I don't think it's a spoiler, like in the true sense of the word. But I remember watching it, and I remember seeing in the trailer a car explodes. And it's daytime, and they're outside. And I remember while watching it, just having these thoughts of like, they're inside now and it's nighttime, so that car is not going to explode anytime soon. And then I kept sort of swatting that away, like, stop, just watch the movie, like pay attention to the movie, don't think about that. And it was annoying enough to me that I'm like, maybe I just need to try watching a movie without ever seeing any media for it. And that just sort of rested on the back of my mind for a while. I didn't really act on it. And you are the reason that I started doing this, because you told me to watch Cabin in the Woods and later It Follows, but both times you recommended the movie and you said, do not see anything about this movie. Go out of your way to not watch anything. And both movies were, I mean, I guess I can't compare because I don't know what I would have felt had I seen the trailers. But yeah, those are movies just to go in blind. And I'm actually wearing my Everything Everywhere All at Once shirt right now. That was one that you went out of your way to surprise me entirely with. I hadn't seen any trailers for it. That was well past. I stopped watching trailers in 2016. I remember the year because it was the year of Hateful Eight and Star Wars. 2 movies that I'm going to see.
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino makes a new movie. You're going to go see it. I don't need to be sold on it. I don't care what it's about. I'm going to go see it. Same with Star Wars. It's like it's the big new... Now that's not true.
Yeah.
But in 2016, a new Star Wars was coming out. It's like, of course I'm going to go see Star Wars. And so I don't need to see the trailer. And so I was like, let's try it. Let's see if I can avoid... And Star Wars particularly was like, I had to leave the theater. I leave the theater, or I put headphones in, I cover my eyes. I do everything in my power to not see these trailers. And Everything Everywhere was one, it came out well past I had stopped watching trailers.
Yeah.
But you didn't even let me know what we were going to see.
Yeah, I thought there was a possibility you might not have heard of it. But I knew that you'd want to see it.
Yeah.
So that's...
It was such a great experience. It's
and it's funny because that's one of... that movie doesn't have a title card.
Yeah.
So
yes.
You never got, like, you never,
Yeah.
even if you had heard of the movie,
I never got to see the title.
You wouldn't have been, you wouldn't have known that was the movie,
Yeah.
which is funny. I mean, you've rubbed off on me a little bit with the trailer thing. Like now, I go out of my way not to watch the second trailer. I love a teaser trailer. If I'm watching a trailer and it's a movie I know I'm gonna see, I will stop paying attention to it in its later half. So I need to know a film's whole thing. Like if I went into a movie that blind, I would hate it. I need to have some parameters set. I need to have some expectations set. And granted, that has done me wrong. You know, like movies that are advertised as one thing, like, you know, the scariest movie you'll ever seen. Like The Witch was like that. It was advertised as the scariest movie of the decade.
Crimson Peak.
And then
that for me.
you see it and it's just not that. I mean, it is a scary movie, but it's like, it's more of a drama for most of it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it just was so extremely not what I was expecting that it ruined the movie the first time I saw it. I'm a rewatcher though. So I rewatched it multiple times and adjusted my feelings towards it. But so trailers have done me wrong with that, of setting up an expectation that it just ends up being something different. They do that a lot. But yeah, so I try to only see teaser trailers, and I try, if the trailer is going too far, like it is it's telling me too much, I'll stop paying attention to it. Like I'll just like I did that with the last Alien movie, Romulus. The trailer, I was watching the trailer and then I was like, I don't need to know the rest of this. And so you've rubbed off on me a little bit. I enjoy trailers more than you.
Let's do this. If you're watching this, what I would suggest, if you're interested at all in experimenting with this, is pick one movie. Like I started with Star Wars and Hateful Eight. Now I don't recommend starting with Star Wars or a Marvel movie or anything like that, because those companies put a lot of effort and time into their marketing campaigns. It's sort of hard to avoid. But pick a movie you know is coming out, and see if you can avoid just the marketing for that movie, and then see how you like it when you watch it. And
it can be a movie that you know you want to see. Like a good one would be the It Follows sequel.
There we go.
And It Follows was a fun one because I actually walked into that blind. Fully blind. I knew I was just wanting to go to the movie one weekend, and I was looking at what was out, and there was a movie called It Follows that I'd never heard of, and the genre was horror. And I was like, well, the time is right.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's surprising of me not to have looked up the trailer. I don't know why I didn't. Maybe it was the timing, I needed to leave right then. I don't know. But I went and I hadn't heard of it. I hadn't seen anything. And I was just like,
yeah. It follows.
Like
rules.
it was the perfect. It was perfect. Yeah. It hits sometimes.
But that's my point, is the results speak for themselves. So anyway, predictions for Final Destination Bloodlines. We went off on a tangent there, but to be clear, I have not seen anything from this movie, so I guess what are we predicting? Are we predicting the disaster? The initiating disaster? Are we predicting...
Sure. Okay, I'm going to predict... One death is going to be a procedure, like Botox, lip fillers, or like some other plastic surgery, skin care. Thinks that's such a big thing, and those are always my favorite deaths. I don't know why. I like the LASIK surgery. I like the tanning booth. I liked the salon. All those, like, 'cause I always feel like unsafe in those kinds of situations, so they just hit right. So I don't know. I'm looking for like a lip filler disaster.
Okay. I can't really think of that's sort of the thing. It's like these things are hard to think of because they are necessarily mundane.
Yeah.
It's for it to be an effective Final Destination death, it needs to be the last thing you're expecting. So it's sort of a hard thing to predict.
Well, let's try to think of because I have no idea what the big opening set piece is either. So
What about a ice rink collapsing?
Collapsing?
Or like breaking apart, or like a pond, a frozen pond.
Oh, it's not the right season.
True. I'm trying to think of things.
Wave pool disaster.
You know what? Something I'm actually very...
They haven't got water.
Wave pool. Water is pretty much omnipresent throughout the series, but you're right. It's only the pool sequence is
we got
truly
that
water based.
Yeah,
but they're all water. A lot of them are water adjacent. Actually, there's a car wash. There's Todd slipping. There's the road is slick in Final Destination 2. It specifically has just rained. What's something silly that could...
Hoverboard. Was it a hoverboard death? Let's do that. A singular hoverboard death.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm trying to think of like...
Wildlife. Zoo disaster? Escaped animals? Hey.
Yeah, see, I'm trying to think of situations...
That's mine. Escaped zoo animals.
Escaped zoo animals.
That's my prediction.
Or a wave pool.
Okay. We'll see who's right.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to go watch Bloodlines, I guess.
Yep. See you in a minute. It's my favorite one.
Really?
Yep. I cared enough about the characters that I was actually sad when they died.
Yeah.
I was like, no. And that's the first time I've experienced that. I think with like any character in the Final Destination franchise.
The first ones.
Even the first ones. Yeah, it's just like all the originals, they're so fast paced. They don't give it any room. I remember when you saw the length of the new one, it's like 2 hours. You're like, what are they going to do for 2 hours? Character building. I know that's a rare... That's an unknown trait from before, but yeah, they developed the characters and they developed their relationships and, you know, the bloodlines. I was wondering, like, what do you mean bloodlines?
Sure,
and because that's the like subtitle, but I get it. The family, it's like an inherited. I thought that was a cool quality, a cool thing.
Definitely, yeah.
With the grandma.
This felt like someone who... It says 2 directors. There's 2 credited directors. It felt like the people who made this movie were fans of the franchise.
Yeah.
Like, they're having fun with the Final Destination stuff. And, you know, we talked about the formula and how I was like, I hope they don't change the formula. And I don't think they harmed it at all.
They didn't change the formula. They just fleshed it out a little bit more, which I needed.
Okay, yeah.
Personally.
Yeah. I thought the I mean you watched these for the deaths and those set pieces and stuff, and I thought they were all really good. Really fun.
I liked the amount of fake outs.
Yes. Yep.
I thought It was really clever. Like Eric specifically, the rocker dude.
So you said a teaser or something, or the first trailer was just his death.
Yeah, so the only trailer I've seen was the teaser, and it was I'm sure it was trimmed down a little bit.
Sure. Yeah.
But it was his full from the piercing all the way through to the fire. That's the only teaser I saw. Which I thought was a great teaser. It's like that's all you need.
Oh, one of the things I was interested in was the effects, and if they were going to go with heavy into practical effects, heavy into CG. And true to all the others, this is exactly of its time. It looks like a horror movie. It looks like the other horror movies from this year. It looks like the other horror movies from this time period, which is CG heavy, but pretty good. Pretty good.
I did notice that it was almost all CG, but I wasn't mad about it.
Yeah, it wasn't that kind of CG. There's some CG that's like, this is, I don't know. This looked good. And they really went pretty specific with a lot of the gore and a lot of the carnage. And I thought something was interesting. There's several moments in it that it was almost like it's like they inherited them from their previous sequels, because this was not in 3D as far as we know.
No, but there were moments felt like 3D moments. Yeah, you had the same, like the penny kind of goes at you at some point, and I was
there was a few, yeah. It's like, is that just a Final Destination thing now? Like Final Destination sort of swept up the 3D thing and its DNA.
It's like a nod. There was a lot of nods. Like I thought, kind of an eye roll. But when they were trying to remember the name of a hospital, they were like, "It's called Deep Rivers, or like Shiny Rivers," and they're like Clear Rivers, and it's like Hope Rivers, and they're like, it's like that's such a throwaway.
Yeah,
and Clear Rivers was the character from the beginning, so it's like, so they were.
And there's a Dr. Reddick at some point.
Yeah, so there were a lot of little nods, which is, I think it had the perfect amount of that and humor.
Yeah.
And like it didn't go full on zany camp, which I was worried it might.
Yeah. Yes.
It still maintained its like balance.
It's made by fans for the fans.
Yeah.
You can tell they wanted to do this right. So just real quick, I will say both of us recommend it. If you like Final Destination, if you liked any of them, go see this.
Yep.
We think you should.
Yeah. It's my favorite one.
Yeah. And so I guess we'll get into more specific spoilers. This is going to be basically, we're going to give everything away about it, so you're warned. I said, oh, 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 oh. So yeah, let's talk about
the fake outs.
Yeah, so Eric doesn't actually die in the tattoo parlor, which is very clever. It's clever marketing, and it's also a fun.
Yeah.
And you know, I thought about that because when Eric dies, it's a 2-for-1. He dies because he's the only thing that could save Bobby.
Standing in the way of the next person in line.
Exactly. So he has to go too, but that was the foreshadowing I noticed. I only noticed one clear example of foreshadowing one of the characters' deaths. There's tons of foreshadowing. There's awesome little moments of like, okay, like the music kicking on. It's Johnny Cash, Ring of Fire, you know, like little things like that.
Especially with the beginning sequence.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, as she's walking into the building, fire, the cracking the creme brulee.
Well, and that's how all of them have started. The disaster itself has so many warnings.
Egregious warnings. Yeah.
And so the inciting incident in this, the destruction, the collapse of the Sky View Tower, sort of an uninspired name, but that might be a reference that I'm not aware of.
I don't think so.
Sky
View
Tower.
It's the 50s. That's what they would have called it. They were very on the nose.
That's fair.
So one of those super tall, like, it wasn't rotating. It was just one of those super tall, like restaurant, bar, club thing.
Yeah.
Like this, like in the Space Needle.
But the foreshadowing that I noticed was Eric's, which is in the tattoo parlor. There's a huge neon magnet on the wall. It's just a classic like cartoon magnet, and I was like, so he's gonna die from a magnet, and then he didn't, and then he did. So I thought that was cool.
That was the hardest death. Like that was the one where I was like, no, because I really liked. He was a great character. Great character. A lot of good comedic relief. The whole nuts thing was very funny.
Good character building. Good comedic relief, but also like endearing character relief.
Yeah.
Like or character relief, comedic relief. Like he finds out that his dad, who he's mourning, was not his biological father. And that's played as a laugh because it fucked up the order of who should die in the bloodline. Mm-hmm. But he's like mortified. He's upset. He's crying in that scene, and it's like an intense moment for him. And I was like, that's you could have done that.
He even made that funny. He was like, "Is that why he was trying to play catch with me this whole time?" Like that, because he asks who his dad actually is, and she gives him a name, and he's like,
"It's like some hated family acquaintance
friend or something." Like, that's why he was always playing catch with me.
Yeah, that was funny.
It's just cute. Yeah, it was like a real good, a solid family dynamic there.
Very
of teasing.
Good.
Like they felt like real brothers.
Yeah,
and like real father and
there's
real
tension
cousins
between a cousin that went off to school and hasn't kept in close enough touch. Yeah, it was a good family. To be honest, the nut allergy thing, it is very rare that I feel this. You know, one of the common criticisms of horror movies is like, that's what they say in Scream, you know, it's always someone running upstairs when they should be running outside. Yeah. People get frustrated at characters making mistakes or what they perceive as dumb mistakes. And, you know, it's easy for me to forget about that because it's like, A, it wouldn't be an interesting movie if every character made the right decisions. And, you know, B, people are in a heightened state of anxiety or fear are gonna more likely make bad decisions. It's sort of believable to me, and I just don't really care about it. You know, I wouldn't be a horror movie fan if that was important to me. But it feels great when a character makes a decision that is a very strong decision and still fails because of it. And to be honest, giving the guy the peanut butter and letting the doctors resuscitate him is a pretty clutch idea from him. Like, I thought that was a decent plan. Mm-hmm. Now he carries it out in a messy way.
Chaotic, yeah.
But it's true to his character. It's true to this dynamic between these brothers. Yeah. And I don't know, man. When it failed, it was like, damn, man, I think I would have tried that too. Like,
yeah. I mean, the whole time I was thinking, I was like, I feel like that's not the easiest thing to resuscitate someone from. Like, to me, it feels like so obviously that it would be drowning, because we resuscitate people from drowning all the time.
Sure.
But like, yes.
Yeah, that's in terms of access.
I don't know medical.
Sure.
And I get, like, there was emotional reason. Like, I like that he was about to get him unsalted peanuts, and he's like, no, if I'm going to go down, I want those. It's like Reese's Cups.
Yeah.
Because he's never been able to have one. So there was even kind of like an emotional, like, a sweetness there. Yeah. Like, he gets to have this candy he's wanted his entire life.
Yeah.
And he's like, he takes a bite and he's like, it's really good. Yeah, I love that dynamic. Kind of like the goofy, lovable jock and the goofy, lovable punk rock guy. I don't know. It was a cute dynamic.
Another thing I thought was sort of sweet and touching was Tony Todd's scene. It was nice. It's a nice send-off for the character. It's a nice send-off for the actor. And I think it was, you know what it reminded me of? And this is, you know, it's sappy, but it reminded me of Paul Walker's memorial and the end of Fast and Furious 7.
Where he exits the road.
It's really well done.
That's man. Okay. I haven't seen it, but I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen that clip because people feel positively and strongly about it.
It was the right call. You every now and then you have a character where it's like, you know, Tony Todd is more than William Bloodworth. Him showing up in those movies was meaningful even from the first one.
But he clearly has a love for it. It's like, he was obviously probably not well enough, truly, to be doing it. most of the scene is him sitting in a chair.
Yeah.
And he does not look well. But you just know how much he wanted to do it. You can tell he kind of like leaves out the door with the box of his stuff, and he's like, now that she's gone, it's my turn, and I'm just gonna make the best of the time I have left. And he's like, good luck. Yeah, something that felt more powerful in the context of him as an actor. I think they did it really well. Shockingly well. So much better than I thought. I thought it was going to be...
The sixth Final Destination is not where you expect tasteful, respectful...
Yeah, tugging at your heartstrings kind of stuff. But we got that in that scene specifically the most, because it has a real life edge. But we got genuine emotion through the whole thing. Like, I even the last sequence with the kids and the mom, who are the only ones left, and the mom knows that if she can get safe and stay safe, that the kids will stay safe.
Yeah.
And there's this complicated thing because she left them when they were kids, and we learn it was because she was starting to become like her mom, paranoid, and like won't let them leave the house, and she didn't want to hurt them the way she was hurt. And that's sweet. We have that background. But this is like her chance, to save her kids. And so even that, it's like, so all these little clusters of intrafamiliar relation were so well developed, even between the main girl and her cousins and her brother, who are mad at her for leaving and like just abandoning them, it felt like, when she went to college. And then the complicated relationship between their mom and her brother, the dad.
Yes.
Of like, they lived through something difficult together, and he's giving her an olive. Very shockingly complex web of relationships and real life family strife.
Speaking of Tony Todd, I should mention that earlier in this video, I guess, I mentioned that fans have speculated that Tony Todd was himself a survivor of some previous disaster, and they wrote that in. And that felt like it was for the fans. Every now and then a fandom has these little pieces of like speculative canon.
Yeah.
I think this, but I don't really have any evidence to think it, except it feels right.
Yeah.
It's fun when stuff like that gets thrown in there.
And I feel like sometimes the writers see that stuff and they're like, wait,
that's a good idea.
It's a good idea. And they just go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that worked too. That could have been an eye roll.
Yeah.
But I think making it this way, it made sense.
So it wasn't a zoo disaster or a wave pool disaster. We were wrong about that.
But it oddly, this disaster, I mean, it's kind of specific. It's set in the 50s in like a Space Needle-esque restaurant tower thing. But for me personally, it felt the most upsetting to me, because I personally have a thing about being inside of a building while it's collapsing. That's a recurring nightmare I have, where I find myself in a very tall building of some kind, and I can feel it start to collapse beneath me. Okay. I have that. That's a pretty common dream. I don't really have a fear of heights or a fear of being in tall buildings, but that feeling of like, what can you do? What can you do? Like when she's up there and half of the like building has fallen off, the stairs have broken off, the elevator has crashed, she is up there. You have to sit with that knowledge. Like, that's such a scary thing to me, of like having to sit with that knowledge. But you still have so much time to contemplate your completely hopeless doom.
And this could be the kind of thing that's in an unrated director's cut somewhere down the line, and the kind of thing they would have had to cut just to achieve an R rating. But I would have loved if, when she's looking at the wall of like where all these obituaries descended from this one big event, if there was like close-ups of the obituaries and like hard cuts to like 3-second little funny
like
crazy things
crime
happening.
Scene photos.
Not even crime scene photos, like just like
an
an iron
montage
falling, or like a
that
water
feels
hose.
Like the monkey bullshit.
Yes, it would be way. Trust me,
Yeah.
I get it would be way sillier and probably too silly. But I was like, that would have been a really cool.
Yeah, the
like,
monkey
little, like,
did that. Like it did do that because like all of they were like, there's been so many deaths happening, and it was like cut.
Yeah, if you liked Final Destination, you'll like the monkey, and vice versa. They are in the same. They have the same
Looney Tunes spirit.
Yeah,
very attached to each other. The girl cousin stuff was probably my favorite. Just because I wasn't as emotionally attached to her. We hadn't gotten to know her as much quite yet. But just the fact that, so the main character is certain that Eric is the next one. And she's like following him around, like looking for things. And he's like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And she was like, well, the saw in the tree could fall and the leaf, causing the leaf blower to like go up. And then the kid's playing soccer ball and then it could hit you in the face. And he's like, oh, and now I'm going to die from that or whatever. And then that's exactly what happens.
Yep.
But she gets knocked into a trash can right as a garbage can is putting her in the thing. So that, very Looney Tunes.
You know what it reminded me of? There's a couple scenes. There's one in Mission Impossible 3, but there's also one in Fury Road, Mad Max Fury Road, where the one in Fury Road, Furiosa and the wives have escaped, and it's been since it came out that I saw this, but it's something like Max needs to go they need weapons or something. They need him to retrieve something, and he just goes off and comes back covered in blood with the stuff they need. Yeah. They just don't show it.
Yeah.
They don't need to show it. And in Mission Impossible 3, it's the same thing. It's like, they say the whole plan. You know what Ethan's supposed to be doing in the building. And instead, you get this very quiet moment of two of the other characters just having a conversation in the car waiting for him. And the moment is interrupted by Ethan on the walkie-talkie going, I can't make it to the roof. And they go, what? And he just jumps out of a window and, parachutes out. And it's like, you don't care what he did in that building. It's Mission Impossible 3. You know what he did in that building. Let's do some character building. A good
bit, yeah.
And with this one, all of the sequence of dominoes that she predicted would kill Eric happens in blurry in the background.
Yeah, very far.
It's out of focus. Yeah, it's you understand.
Yeah.
It's Final Destination 6. You don't need to see the close-ups of all the little mechanics of all this. It works. It was awesome. Done. Yeah, it was awesome. What this one made me feel is as long as there's enough time between them, just keep them coming, man. I don't care how many you make.
Yeah, like why not?
It's fun. It's so fun.
It proves, that rebooting old series can work well. It doesn't always work well.
Yeah.
Great. It's sometimes it often doesn't. But it can be done well, and it was funny, I saw, you did not see all the trailers before the movie. There was, the I Know What You Did Last Summer reboot, Megan 2, the next Conjuring movie, Mission Impossible whatever, Weapons, which looks really good. But it was funny to see all the sequels and remakes and stuff coming up. It'll be fun. Good things to see. They all looked interesting in their own right. And, there's a lot of sequel fatigue and remake fatigue in the world right now. Because it seems like 90% of what is out there is
some kind of adaptation.
Yeah. But it can be done well. It's not always just a cash grab. And I feel like some people have like a really strong attitude about that, about like they're just trying to make money, and it's like, yeah, they are trying to make money in some cases, and they don't put any effort into it and just throw something out there. But I think it's more often that, like was obvious in this case, you see that someone was a fan
Yes.
Someone, like, those are the ones that work, is when someone who was a fan gets their hands, like, as a director on these reboots and sequels. So that, and they have a genuine personal interest in doing it correctly. Like, doing it right. So yeah, this was honestly way better than I was expecting. Oh, even the very last death, which honestly is so good.
It's really good.
It's so stupid and it's so good.
I almost don't want to even say anything about that, even for the people who are okay with spoilers. Let's save that one.
Let's leave that one. Yeah, if
it was fun.
It was perfect.
Yeah,
they did a good job there. Yeah, definitely worth seeing. It might be your favorite one. This is my favorite one. We'll give you a laugh. Like and subscribe.
The little things that happen at the end, after the boulders have come down on him, then there's a little plinking pebble.
Well, you probably all noticed that when something disastrous happens, there's an after noise of some kind, you know. Mm-hmm. You may have noticed when the first time you're learning how to skate, the old-fashioned skates, you take a header, and as you're lying on the sidewalk, you hear the skates going around, right? It's infuriating to hear that because, after all, everybody ought to be quiet. It's, you know, somebody said an adventure is a mistake rightly considered. But when you fall down, damn it, people should hold off and say, hey, wait a minute, now, this guy's, you know, this is the fact they're sitting around laughing at you, but the skate has no right to contribute to the laughter.